Hello, everyone. This is Bentley from Kent, Washington. So today we're going to continue with the fish room tour, and I guess fish house tour is more accurate. I don't really have a singular fish room. I have a couple of fish rooms and then some other tanks spread throughout my house. So kind of my whole house is a fish room in a way. It's weird. Thankfully, my girlfriend puts up with it. But you saw previously in the last one the what I call my grow room, where my fry are typically grown on. A lot of my plant projects are done. For those of you who joined me for the premiere, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. It went out a lot later than I really wanted it to, just because of some technical issues that had occurred. Wow, English is hard. But as you can no doubt tell, like just from looking at the sides here, I went out, I got a haircut. And I'm sitting there having my video upload to YouTube. I ran some errands, was doing some stuff. I come back to find out that 2 hours of uploading I had done before I left, and then about 2 hours into what would have been the total process. I was trying to do 4K. Um, my internet decided that nah, it's gonna take a break, and it didn't want to let it upload, so it errored on YouTube side, and I had to go re-render my video out of 4K just because it takes too long to upload in 4K. I really wanted it out Saturday for you folks, so at least those who would see it too late could watch it Sunday morning, and the rest could enjoy it in the evening. For the few of you again who joined the premiere, it was quite the blast. It was really interesting for me as a creator to see what the premieres are like, as opposed to as a fan watching it from some of my favorite creators watching their premieres. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me on that. It's been interesting. But so we'll go through my display room this time. And as I kind of prefaced in the previous video, it's not in what I would say full display caliber shape. So display is not as accurate, but this is where two of my bigger community tanks are, the two big rainbow tanks, as well as the shallow tank, which has been really popular and you guys haven't seen in a little while. So we'll get a pretty sweet update there. I'm also going to talk about some stuff that I want to do in that room. So with that being said, let's go over and check out that tour. So here we go, folks. We're going to start in what I call my display room, and as I kind of mentioned in the last video, it's not in the best shape. This is, for those who've watched the channel for quite a while, a 29-gallon that is in some disrepair. You can see like the Java moss that has kind of crept in there is looking a little ugly. I just need to finish getting it out. These stems, I've kind of trimmed them down. They've had seen a little bit of better days. We fought a ton of algae off in this tank, and really everything's kind of recovering because I don't use CO2 or anything here. I keep this pretty low maintenance, but this was a tank that I originally adopted from a gentleman who was moving out of the state, and it's just kind of perpetually had a lot of schooling fish in it. There's some stuff that's going to probably move into this tank as I tear a few tanks down and change some things around in my house. And speaking of, we'll kind of move over to where some tanks are going to be torn down. So at one point, you can see like this is kind of my food and various supplies area. At one point, I was using that little 10-gallon there as a larger brine shrimp colony. We were doing some experiments trying to get a continuous culture going. Really just did not do well with me and my roommate. We struggled to get it to work well. And I've kept that 10 down here because I'm going to clean it, and that's going to be one of the ones that will go into the grow room to help raise up some various baby rainbows from Mr. Steenfot using those Bosemani. So over here you can see I've got brine running right there. That gets harvested a little later. Usually I do that in the evenings, and then that's going to be done to all of our baby rainbows. So these two 10s here are used for a couple different purposes. You can see I fight algae in these because there's no plants. This one over here used to keep my Teniatus bipindes, so a bipindi variant of the crib. I've sold all the last of those off. I don't have them anymore. So it's kind of set as an open tank. You can actually see right now some of the blue Hawaiian culls are in here. So you can see there's a boy who's got kind of red and green in his front and that big blue tail, but not the blue body. That boy right there, actually, the next boy down here, this guy is going down this way. He was sky blue in the tank, and the second I split him away, he's darkened up. So sometimes some of what I think are a cull, if they get alone, will darken up. But you can see this guy we're focusing on here. He's got that more sky blue color. This is what I consider a cull as well. It's not the dark color I'm looking for.
And then there's one more male in here. Let's see if he'll show himself. You see, this guy right here, he's got the little Siamese twin on him. There's one other fish that has that just was an absolute ninja evading my net while I was doing water changes earlier. So this is where some of the culls are going, just to kind of separate them from the colony. Some of those culls are actually going to ship out. We had a couple of folks who were interested in them. And then over here, I've got a set of plecos. My last of my albino koi, or the rummy-nosed guppy, I've got a male, and I brought 2 of the female blue Hawaiians over here. Not the most stellar colored females, although this little one's starting to show really good color. Just to kind of do an experiment. I want to see what happens if they cross. I've got a lot of females that I'm willing to sacrifice. This one here that doesn't have really stellar color in her tail that I probably would have considered a cull if I was going through and picking them out to sell off. We'll just try something in here. And then also there's 4 plecos in here. Almost perpetually, there's a blue phantom and an L333, the yellow king tiger pleco, under this log. There is one, you can see him there as I spin down, blue phantom pleco hiding right there. And then the other guy, you can see right here, spin you in, there's an L333 right there. So I have 2 pairs. The L333s came from Master Breeder Dean. So just kind of spin it out here. Get this like cup of algae from when I was cleaning earlier out of the way. You can see this, how I do it. Old tissue culture cup, fill it with algae, throw it away. And see, I've got some spare pleco caves. That's when I tear these tanks down. I'm actually planning on tearing this entire rack down and probably putting one of the acrylic projects in this corner. Most likely the 100-gallon one that I showed you that's 54 inches, that custom kind of 54 by 20 by 20. That will fit actually pretty well in this space. I'll just build a custom stand probably with Joel and get working on that. You can see down here, other than a fan, there's like spare brine shrimp, spare nets, a Tidal 110, some hardscape. Not exactly the most organized mess, but mess is probably the right word in that it's not as clean as it should be, but it's put away enough to where it doesn't look hideous. You can see over here, I've got some spare lids. Just kind of hiding. This is like random stuff in my fish room. This is why I say my display room's not in great shape. You guys know this tank. This is the big rainbow community. The second I start moving across the tank, they run over because they want food. This has just a horde of rainbows in it. Everything from like your generic Bosemani, turquoise, Irians. Here's like, I mentioned in the Parva, I actually get to see what a full adult male looks like. These guys, as he runs the second I focus on him, these guys are such stunning fish. I mean, to me, they're just like a sunburst of orange color. Absolutely beautiful. This particular Bosemani, you'll notice a little more yellowish orange, and he's a little faded because we're later in the day right now. That's a Lake Ayumaru. So there's like 4 different Bosemani, really. The Ayamarus are a little more yellow. For those wondering, because I've had comments in the past, you'll see on this Parkinsoni, he's got these kind of big yellow bubbles, or not yellow, but white kind of blisters. That's actually a virus that, or at least I suspect it to be a virus. I've done a ton of research trying to figure it out. I've put this guy through all sorts of meds. And I can medicate the heck out of him with like General Cure or some of the other stuff, and it will go away for a little bit, but then comes back. So from what my research tells me, that's a virus that basically it's like a $900 medicine from a prescription veterinarian that you have to get in order to fix the problem. You can see here, this tank actually doesn't water change today. It water changes the next day. I can do some trims on this Pogostamen stellatus. Because if you look up top, it looks really awesome. It's got a long leaves, looking frilly. Then down here, it's looking kind of narrow and ugly. There's a ton of Anubias in this thing. If you go back to like this rock wall over here, you've got Bucophylandra Red Mini and a Nana Petite all interspersed through all this Dragonstone. That's taken me about 1.5 years to get it to that point there. And you've got all this Nana Golden through here. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you remember I tried to do some Blixa in here. These rainbows, and the one bristlenose pleco who's hiding in here, anytime I try to plant anything down here, they rip it up. I tried really hard with the Blixa, and they just tore it up and absolutely tore it apart. So I've got to find some different solution, probably something like crypts, where they're a little more resilient as far as their root structures are concerned. And then work from there, just because I don't like this bare open spot here. I'm a big plant nerd. I like having a lot of plants, unless it's like the sand area over here. Let's see, we can go over here. We've got the Tiger Lotus. You can see the output of the FX6. You can see I've got a ton I need to trim up here. This right here is a rare Nymphaea called Minuta, which came from Crystal Castleman to our club, and I'm one of, I think, 3 total members that has it. And then this is a Hadi Red Pearl Sword, which is starting to melt back some leaves just because it's its time. It's had those out for quite a while. They're slowly melting. You can see tons of healthy leaves. It stays very low laying like that. It's a really interesting, weird sword. And then, of course, there's that blue Acara. Jimmy had some stellar shots of this guy. He's just a kind of a big teddy bear. Just rolls around the tank. Really personable. He's finally starting to get less shy. But he loves whenever I'm in the room being right in front of me and kind of trying to beg for food over and over and over again. So let's go over some of the cool highlights in this tank. Hit the Parva, which is really awesome. Hopefully he won't run. My Goiter River has bashed himself on the side again, probably sparring with my not so great Blaharii over there. But here, right here in the center, there's a Goldiei Dekai male who's just looking lights out. And he's not even really showing full color. That's the crazy thing. That fish looks that good, and that's not even his best color. There's a female in here. I've got to get him bred. It's just a matter of sparing tanks. Got another Goldiei, a little less showy up there, but another one there. Got some Australians, the Parvas. Got Roseline Sharks. Kind of an obligatory mixed community rainbow tank. So let's pan over. Got my trash bucket for when I'm working. Here's the shallow tank. You'll notice as we zoom in more, I haven't mounted some of this Anubias just because I've been letting it do its thing, coloring up. You can see I've got some algae going on in here that I'm just dealing with. There's no cleanup crew or anything, so it's kind of a perpetual battle. I'm pumping a ton of light on this thing in order to get stuff like this nice red color coming in here on the AR Mini. You can see this little piece up here. This is a Piptospatha Ridleyi that had trouble in one tank, and it's slowly growing back in here just because it's getting what it wants, a little more flow, a little more light. This Anubias Pangolino in here has been doing just phenomenal. They're all about double the size of when I've got them. There's the Anubias White, Marble, and there's a Pinto mixed in here too. I got a bunch of a rare Anubias in this thing. This piece of Boos right here is a mini Aurora that came from Karen Randall when she visited my club. Then you've got some more AR Mini back there, the Stargrass. You've got your pink Flamingo Crypts, a couple other Crypts in here. There's Wendetii Compact, Wendetii Broadleaf, all sorts of crazy stuff that's growing out in this tank. In general, it's not doing too bad considering it's just a cold water system, no CO2. But fighting a little algae, I got a few random plants in here just as experiments. Most of them are doing surprisingly well. Here's that compact over here. Really cool little plant. Stays very small for a Wendetii. Versus this here, you can see much bigger. There's that nice little pink flamingo is coloring up. I've got some other ones in here that have really melted back. There's a flamingo there. That came from Joel. Some of them have really had rough shape. Others are doing a lot better. But they'll all recover over time. It's just the patience to get this thing going. If you guys have nano tanks of any form, by the way, this might be one of the coolest lights here I've ever dealt with. This was just a little Amazon thing. I think it was $30. It comes with the risers, and it puts out a lot of light. It has 7 different color modes. It's actually really cool, and it's done wonders on this little shallow tank here. But you can see good reds, solid whites on the rare Anubias is where they're supposed to be solid, or the strong white in the ones that are supposed to be marbled and stuff. And that's just from a cheap $30 light that puts out a ton of light. A ton of light. So, we got one more tank in this room. Come over kind of by my place to sit after work and get a few minutes of time with my fish. Some Fluval 3.0s that I got from Co-op during their Black Friday sale. Those are going to be for those big acrylic tanks. And then there's this, my 90 gallon. You can see this is very low maintenance in that it's just some swords, Anubias crypts, and then my Madagascar lace is melted back again. It was angry because I had some stuff floating in here that got really big for the auction and shaded it out. But you can see tons of little growth just right here. Lots and lots of new young Madagascar lace leaves. I might try putting CO2 on this tank just to make that plant a little happier. Just because it's going through cycles of growing really well, melting back, growing really well, melting back. You can stabilize that with CO2. This is all that Pahang mutated crypt. That's a Nurii species. Most of it is in this tank. There's a couple that are in the Guppy Mansion, but most of them are here. You can see all doing very, very well. Took to the water. See those cool stripes that come up the center, kind of a trident pattern. And then this, again, is a different horde of rainbows. All kind of young adults. You've got some more turquoise that are growing up in here. There's a Tinjo Bosemane that come from Rosario Lacourte's line. There's Millennium Reds. This has my Wanamensis in it. Which, for those that are curious, actually, let me demonstrate. Wanamensis are really easy to tell the males. The females look really boring. So, like, you'll notice this girl here, I'm trying to track her, just kind of a gloss silver fish. But there's an important difference. If you pay attention to, like, say this here is a Millennium Red. You see how she's got kind of a brassy gold color? That's how you tell the difference between most of the, like the Wanamensis specifically, and most of the red rainbow species. So the Incisus, the Pseudo-Incisus, the Irians, and the Millenniums. Doridii are a little different just because of the way they are. But most of the red rainbows, the females tend to have a kind of a gold or brassy color, where something like a Wanamensis, the female is going to be more like silvery green color. So just a little tip for you guys there. One thing you can notice, so you can see this male really kind of dulled his color out. He's really bright in the morning and then slowly dulls through the day. The female above him, so we track her here, you notice how much color she has despite that light as she gets back there. And it's much more orange than yellow in the morning. So even they kind of change their colors a little, those females, which is really wicked to watch. And then, of course, Cycles just doing his thing, being a goldfish in a rainbow tank. I've had a lot of questions as to why I have a goldfish in with my rainbows. For those that might have missed it, I explained it one time ago. I got him when he was, maybe an inch. He was tiny. And his whole job was to eat duckweed out of tanks. So Cycles does not mean that he's supposed to cycle tanks for me. His job is to eat duckweed. And he's gotten so big that I can't. The few tanks that have duckweed now also have shrimp. So he won't be going in those because I don't want him eating the shrimp. But he actually might find a new home with a more goldfish-oriented person here soon, just because he's getting big enough to where he can be kind of a bully at times to the rainbows. He's generally a good boy and gets along, and I might be a girl. I don't know how to sex goldfish. I'll be straight with you guys. But he's just, he's a good-looking shabunkin. He's got that nice kind of kohaku koi pattern, which is why I picked him out. I love kohaku. But there's the 90, which is the last one in the display room. So I mentioned one of the acrylics. I talked about it a little bit, 75 long. I'm just going to give you a little shot of it. This room's kind of a mess right now. It's been used as partial storage for some of my girlfriend's stuff after she moved in. But you can see this tank. And just to kind of give you a heads up, I mean, like, this is, this top here is coming up, and I'm just shy of 6 foot, and this is coming up basically to my chin. A little bit below it, but this is up to the very bottom of my chin. So that's how you know 75 long. It's a 5 foot tank. And if you want to see something really crazy, let me move this just so it's a little easier to see. That loud thing. Spare filter. That's a brine shrimp hatchery. This gigantic thing is a 7-gallon brine shrimp hatchery. I got this from the president of the North Sound Aquarium Society. Literally just gave it to me. He wanted it gone. But when I do my garage and I go for a much bigger fish room, what I'm going to start doing is hatching very large batches of brine, and then I'll be freezing them. And once I get to that point, I will definitely teach you guys, if I don't do one beforehand, how to make your own frozen brine by making much larger batches. It's a very easy process. Greg Sage has actually a great video on it, but I will show you guys how I do it step by step when I get to that point. So we'll just kind of pan around one more time. It's got the 90 kind of opposite where I sit when I need to think and or just stare at fish for a while. The shallow tank over there in the corner. Get that just to focus for a second. Kind of a cool shot if you ask me. And then of course the big rainbow tank as we walk. The 210s, where these are eventually going to go away. These are kind of my experiment tanks. They used to hold some baby fish I was raising up. All my random supplies. This is something in dire need of some full cleaning. And then finally, of course, the 29 here that I got donated. So that's it, guys. This is the display room. It definitely needs some work to get back to where it's full display beauty. But over time, it'll get back there and it'll be looking really sweet. And we'll probably actually have some very cool acrylic tanks in this room too. And you guys will get to see those as they get done. So let's go ahead and hop out of the video and back to my smiling face.
So that's it, guys. That is the tour of my display room. So that's the second of my 2 fish rooms. And calling the second one a fish room is not quite as accurate. It's just more of a room with a few tanks in it. It's not as dedicated as, say, my grow room. And definitely not as dedicated a fish room as someone, say, like your Lucas Bretts or something like that. But those are the 2 major rooms in my house full of tanks. I have a few other tanks kind of scattered across a couple other rooms. My bedroom, such as this tank behind me here. And then there's one over basically directly across from me where I'm looking into you guys. And then there's a couple more tanks that are in my living room. That's where the Beaumont rainbows, my blue dream shrimp, and then there's a 40-gallon breeder that's there that used to have more of those Grabensis raising up in it. Since they're all gone, it's got like 6 or 7 ditherfish left in it and a couple of mono shrimp. It's going to get torn down. I'm going to replace the tank on top of that thing just because that particular tank is about ready. They've got some minor stuff happening with some of the silicones and some of the upper seams. I'm just going to not risk it and get rid of that thing. That has to happen here in the next couple of weeks before it gets way too cold outside. But, that's basically it. That's the tour of my place. You guys, again, had asked for this fish room tour, and I definitely wanted to make sure that you guys got what you're looking for. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'd really like to know what your favorite part of this tour or the previous tour was. You let me know what you guys like the most. I'm always curious what it is that you folks who like watching my content enjoy the most out of everything, because it is a little diverse. I'm mostly a rainbow fish and plant nerd, but sometimes there's things like there's a few dedicated of you who absolutely love the Shelly tank and love your Shellys, things like that, or maybe like the one thing that you're really into is this one specific rainbow, or the zebra plecos, of course the blue guppies. Those guys are just phenomenal, and they get their own mansion because I love them to death. But I'd love to know what you guys love and what you'd like to see more of. Shoot me a comment down below. I'm happy to answer questions. I do my best to respond to every single comment, even if it's just like, if you're like, hey, great video, you see the little heart, this means I definitely read your comment and I appreciate it. And I like criticism too. If there's something you think I can do better, please tell me. I'm always looking to improve and do things as best I possibly can. That's it, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Keep watching that community tab. That's where you're going to get your opportunity to influence the next video. And of course, comments do the same thing. Comments, shares, all that kind of stuff. The bigger we grow, the more we can do giveaways. Again, I'll link the giveaway that I'm doing for 1,500 subscribers at the end of this video, which is just about to come up. and then you'll get an opportunity. Make sure you're in that. Do all the bonus entries. Pay attention. There might be a sneaky hidden one that I don't talk about in the video somewhere. Go ahead and enter that. That's going to end Christmas. Get your opportunity to win either a $25 gift certificate from Amazon or an API freshwater master test kit for free from me, just as a thank you. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.